Hey everybody, RPG here. Today we're going to dive into this mini HD game box that I picked up off of Amazon for $40. It advertises over 700 retro video games, all of which are from the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it basically works like this. Inside here you get two controllers that look very much like a original NES controller or a PC Engine controller, TurboGrafx, very much along those lines. And you get this little USB here, which is your console. This is a USB console. It does have a power cable, so you do have to plug this into a USB port. Luckily, a lot of our modern day TVs have USB ports on the back of them, or if not, you could just run this to like a phone charger sort of outlet connection, anything like that. I actually, for the sake of convenience here in my office, just because I was working in a confined space and didn't want to unplug a bunch of stuff, actually powered it off of a power bank that I had. So it was really convenient. It's not super convenient in that, I'd love to just be able to plug this alone into a USB and be able to power it, but you do have to plug that into the HDMI connection here. You can see it's a full-size HDMI, and just plug the power cable in like that. And then USB-N is going to go into the USB port either on your TV or, wherever you can easily access one. So we're going to actually boot this up. There's no reason to really dive into a closer look at this. This is literally your console. It's a USB console here. And on the side there is actually a micro SD card slot. So if you wanted to customize stuff, you probably could pop this out, tweak some games and stuff like that. But I highly would not recommend doing that. And the reason for that is inside here is a generic SD card. Typically, SD cards are very unstable if you're going to be, adjusting data or moving them from device to device. Even name brand ones like Samsung and SanDisk can be prone to corruptions. Generally, you're not going to run into that, but with generic ones, I almost guarantee if you are moving this from device to device and making little tweaks and adjustments, you are probably more than probably, you're almost guaranteed to run into some sort of corruption, whether it's a full corruption or a partial corruption, and you just don't want to bother with that. So with something like this, I recommend using it as it is. Don't plan on going in here and modifying or tweaking anything at all. Just use it as it is. And if we experience any issues in here, I'm going to point them out. I'm going to tell you guys whether I'd recommend this or not, but I think we'll get a good idea jumping into this today, whether this is worth it or not. So we're gonna jump into it here. I got my setup here ready to go, so let's give it a go, test everything out. All right, so here we are firing up the mini HD game box on our TV, and once you do, you're gonna come to this assortment of collections here. So we have action games, shooting games, sports games, racing games, puzzle games, and then in that bottom right corner is our master list of all the games included on this entire console here. So we're gonna jump into our first collection, take a quick look in there, and that's gonna be action games. So here we have our action games, and I actually scrolled down to the S titles because I wanted to save a little bit of time, because you can see I'm on title 177 within this collection of 201 titles, and I wanted to dive into a game that we're all familiar with. I think we're all pretty familiar with Super Mario Brothers, whether you jump into the original or the later ones, they're all pretty much the same deal. So you can see the layout here of this collection. Pretty cool background. We have some box art for each of the titles. Let's see. No, game videos or previews or anything like that. Just simply the box art from that specific title, but nonetheless, pretty nicely put together. So I'm going to jump into Super Mario Brothers 3 because I want to test out the performance of this. So far, the layout is pretty neat. But let's see what this performs like, because that's the most important part. So I'm looking for lags, glitches, any sort of performance issues at all. So let's jump into a quick game. So far everything looks pretty sharp on here. I kind of like that we've stretched this to the 16:9 aspect ratio. It works. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it seems to be working. I'm not sure if it's going to work for all the titles. Forgot what I'm doing here. So the controller, you got to get a little used to, but all right. So just trying to get a feel for, like, are we dealing with any lags or anything like that here? It looks pretty spot on. Again, haven't fully tested this out here. Let's see. Yeah, really nice mobility here. I'm digging it. Now, I'm notoriously horrendous at this game. You're either like a Super Mario guy or a Sonic guy, in my opinion. Some people like both, but I'm just like not built for Super Mario. I love it. I think it's sick. I think it's cool. But I'm no good, clearly. There's no lags, there's no delays, there's no issues here at all. It's just, I'm awful. Never been good at these games for any sort of Nintendo system that they were ever released for. So I've seen people just like cruise through these levels and, you know, be able to totally, you know, impress everybody, and that's just not me. Like, I'm like overthinking everything and like constantly doing stuff like that where it's just like, I'm just dreadful. So, like, I'll like get a little run going and then just dive down a little hole there. So to exit games, start and select together acts as like a hotkey, but it's going to bring you to this options page. So we have the option to jump back into it, which would obviously be resume. We can quit, which is what I'm going to do in a second, but I want to show you that we have save and load options here. So we can say I made some progress there and I'm on like level 3. Clearly that's never going to happen for me on that title, but if it did, I would just hit save. It's going to put a little screenshot where it says no data there in the first part. And when I come back into this game later, all I have to do is just jump into the ROM, hit the same hotkey and start button. Hotkey is select, so select the start button, open up this page, and then I would just go to load. Same thing's going to happen. I'm going to have a screenshot of where I did that previous save state, where it says no data there, and I'm able to jump right back into where I was playing previously. So that's really cool. We can also make some minor adjustments to the screen. We could do full screen or the scaling up option there. And then we also have system options here. So you can switch between NTSC and PAL there. So I'm gonna just exit for now because I wanna get into some other things in here. So you can see, really nicely put together list. Everything has at least the box art there, which is cool. So maybe you're dealing with a case where like some of these are abbreviated. So like Star Wars 1, Star Wars 2, obviously these had much longer titles. So stuff like that can be a little frustrating to find exactly what you're looking for, but it does help to have the box art there. So yeah, we'll jump out of this. Oh, Sonic 3D Blast. See, I should have did that instead of what I did. So shooting games, let's just jump in here. Let's see, so these are older shooting games. Let's go into Terminator 2, Judgment Day. So I'm assuming that this is the light gun one, but just obviously for NES, not arcade. So probably be dumbed down a little bit, as I think I recall it being. Or is it? Oh, you know what? It's not the light gun one. It's the other one. Forgot they had two. Equally as cool though. So I just gotta remember the controls. Not that it's a intricate sort of setup here. So we have the little speed jump. These are like fun, like casual play. Not that they're super easy by any means, but still a lot of fun here. I was actually just watching this movie the other day. All right, so let's continue on. Where am I? Okay. So yeah, no lags or delays at all, and I'm not seeing like any on-screen glitches, which is cool. My expectations, like I said, are always low when diving into you know, any type of console that's this inexpensive. You know, I expect something like this to be poor quality and super cheap. So Terminated, let me jump out of this and let's jump into another collection. So same deal here. Every single title is going to have the same options that you can do your save and load states and adjustments and all that good stuff. So let's quit. Untouchable, is that a game? That's what I love about retro gaming. There's so much stuff that came out before I was born that I didn't even know existed. So Untouchables was actually one of my favorite like gangster films. I didn't even know there was a game for this. Gotta check it out. I had legit no idea. So you can see here, have a little bit of cutoff on either side because we did stretch this to 16:9 by default. We should be able to make adjustments on that. I'm actually going to give that a try. Oh, this is kind of cool. So like, I don't know if I'm actually shooting. I'm waiting for this guy to pop out again. Why not? Yeah, so I obviously have no idea how to play this, but cool to see. I'm gonna have to check this out, you know, on Potacera or something at a later date. But definitely cool. So we'll hit quit here. Let's jump out of this collection. Let's check out sports games. And again, collection to collection, it's going to be the same sort of deal. Not necessarily looking to dive into another game here, but just see what we have. So we have 96 totals. You can see the count in the top right corner there. Everything again has box art, so Fast Break's cool. A lot of great titles here. A lot of stuff I'm not familiar with, but there is definitely a lot of good stuff too. Pro Wrestling, that was a good one. Punch Out, of course, classic. Tecmo, Ultimate Basketball, WrestleMania Challenge, that was a good one. King of the Ring too, that was good. There's a lot of great stuff here. So I'm going to jump out again. I want to just kind of jump into each of these really quickly. Racing games, 45 titles here, that's pretty good. So we got the Excite bikes. What else do we have? Formula One, Built to Win. Michael Andretti's World Grand Prix. Yeah, that's the one I remember. Good stuff. Rally bike. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna jump out of this one. Let's check out puzzle games. So obviously, Angry Birds. There's some hacks in here. Cool to see though. Good stuff. 292 puzzle games, damn. More than I would have expected. Donkey Kong's a puzzle game, I guess. I'm thinking like puzzle games like puzzles. Home Alone. I don't know if I'd call that like adventure, but whatevs. A lot of good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna jump out. So now I want to point out this is your master game list, which should be a convenience thing. This was actually the first thing that I dove into because I didn't really know what user floater was, but I assumed that it was going to be our master list since it was the last option. That's usually how emulation platforms work. So that would mean that, let's say I'm looking for Home Alone. We'll use that as an example because that was just in puzzle games. I wouldn't think to go into puzzle games to try and find Home Alone. I would probably go with action games, in all honesty. So if I went to action games, didn't find it there, I still don't think I would go into puzzle games. So I would jump over to my master game list, and usually these are all, or not usually, they're always going to be in alphabetical order. So you'll have, you know, all the games that are available on here, which let me jump into this and see how many games we have total on here. 764 games. So it should be in alphabetical order where I can scroll down and say I'm looking for a title, Home Alone, that's under H. I'm gonna scroll down, you know, however many pages till I get to the HO combination, and I'll be able to locate my game. Very easy, very self-explanatory. So here we're down to the 422nd title, which is currently highlighted because I did jump into this and I wanted to kind of bounce around prior to wasting your time scrolling down 422 options. But you can see here that they have a very flawed setup. And the reason for that is it's not taking your titles in alphabetical order because it's pulling the numbers from those other collections. So here we have 422 as a number, and then on the title it also lists 422. So if we went past that number, you can see we're all over the map here. We have an E title on the 422nd option. In front of that we have D. In front of that we have T, M, F, S. So I see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to make it convenient for you, but they're ruining any sort of chance at being convenient by putting these numbers in before the titles. So alphabetical order, it's correct because it's going off of the number reading. So obviously 413 comes before 414, which comes before 415, but it's not pulling the information that we actually need, which is the actual title name. So it's, I can't believe that they put it out the door with this issue. It should be a quick fix. Or, well, not quick, because they'd probably have to go back and backspace the number out 764 times, but somebody's got to do it because this is totally useless like this. So it's a major inconvenience, major flaw. Could you fix it? Probably. You could probably pop out the card, but it's a generic card, so popping it into a computer and out of a computer, I wouldn't recommend it. You're going to run into a corruption, I guarantee it. So it's an inconvenience because we don't have that master list to easily access games. I mean, I use the master list for games on RetroPie and Bonacera constantly because I'm even forgetting, like, hey, was this title a PlayStation 1 title or PlayStation 2 title or Xbox or whatever? So instead of spending the time going collection by collection looking for that specific title, I can just go in, pull it from the master list, and be able to locate it easily without all that legwork. So the fact that we can't do that here totally sucks. 764 titles is a whole hell of a lot of titles to go in and look for in each collection if we can't easily locate it. Hopefully we can, but not always the case. All right, so we just fired everything up. We tested out a bunch of different collections, bunch of different games on here, and I highlighted the one real flaw with this because this is really a nice setup. And for the money, I think that it's outstanding in all honesty. So I'd highly recommend it, but here is the only issue. You saw it right here at the tail end of this video. It's that master game list. It should be the most convenient thing of the entire system. And unfortunately, it's such a misstep on their part. And, they just totally really ruined that entire collection by adding those number titles that just throw off the alphabetical order of everything, so you can't easily access stuff. So it's really unfortunate because that's something that I use on every emulation platform that I use because I'm constantly forgetting what collection something is in. Now, all of these games are NES or NES hacks, but they have separated it by category. So for example, we saw that Home Alone is in the puzzle collection, which isn't the collection that I would have delved into if I was specifically seeking that title out. So, I would have gone in action. If I didn't find it in action, I really wouldn't have. Puzzles would probably have been the last one that I chose for that, in all honesty. Obviously, it's not racing, it's not really shooting, but I would have probably checked those before puzzles, in all honesty. So under normal circumstances, what I would do is I would just go down to the master list, jump down to the H's, HO, for Home Alone, and be able to access the game right there. I wouldn't have to, start guessing and picking and choosing which collection to dive through and search for that way. But with this system, I would clearly get nowhere with that because I don't know what number goes in front of the title to access it. So if I did know that, I would also know where it goes in those other collections and not even have to access it that way. So it's a total mess in that regard, but if you can get past, the fact that you may struggle looking for specific titles in here and may have to kind of guess what collection it would be in, but aside from that, for $40, I can overlook that. And for me personally, I love NES, but I'm not super familiar with it. It's a little bit before my time. I was around for it, but I wasn't playing games at that time. So any games that I've played have been later in life, and love retro gaming clearly as you can see from this channel, but I'm not super familiar with like all the titles out there for that console. You saw as just scrolling through there, I found some titles I never heard of before that I'm going to definitely be checking out. So for me, I don't necessarily mind the fact that I can't easily access things, or I do mind, but it's not a deal breaker for me because most of what I'm doing on here is I'm exploring. So I'm gonna go game by game through these lists and look for titles that I'm not familiar with that look appealing to me by the box art. So for me, it's an experience like that where I can go through and just kind of comb through the system, find new stuff that I haven't experienced yet and test them out. So, it's not a huge deal breaker, but again, $40, I can overlook something like that. The games run really smoothly. Controller quality here is great. You're not getting an 8-bit DOS style controller in terms of quality. It's cheaply made, but there's no binds or sticks. The functionality is perfect on here. So, you know, again, an entire setup here with 2 controllers and the actual USB console for $40. I'm not expecting top of the line quality in the controller, but it performs beautifully. No lags, no delays, no issues whatsoever, just functions perfect. So no complaints whatsoever. It runs off of AAA batteries here. So in the back, AAA batteries, takes 2 of them. Has nice range on here. The furthest I was from the console was about 14 feet and it still worked perfect. So I don't think anybody's going to be really playing from that far away, but if you are, it's going to work. So really just love everything about this, aside from the fact that in that master game list, you know, it pretty much sucks. But other than that, it certainly serves its purpose. I think it's a home run for emulation as well as for an easy, cheap system to get you started in this particular NES collections. And we have some hacks in there, which are an added bonus. We saw there's a Harry Potter game in there. There's a couple other ones in there that, you know, kind of threw me for a loop initially because I was thinking, like, did I miss something? Was Harry Potter released in the 80s? And of course not. But, you know, I wasn't expecting to find hacks in there. So to see, you know, box art as well on a hack was pretty cool. So lots of capabilities here. If you're an NES fan and you're looking to get all those games at a much cheaper price than like a Raspberry Pi or something like that, this is definitely the way to go. 40 bucks I paid. Extreme Mini Game Box on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description of this video though, so you can easily check it out. Click right through. You don't have to search for it or any of that. I'll do all the legwork for you guys. So definitely check it out. It's worth at least getting some more information on. So that's going to do it for today. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to hit me up in the comments section below. Always happy to answer any questions that I possibly can for you guys. So again, that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. If you haven't yet subscribed to the RetroPie Guy YouTube channel, then I suggest hitting the subscribe button. You can do that in the bottom right corner of this video right now to subscribe instantly and be in the loop for all future videos that I do. But thank you guys so much for watching today. Hope you guys enjoy your day.